very impressed with this class. All of us are navigating different waters now with NIL and the transfer portal, with roster management and the way recruiting is going and being handled now. I'm really proud of our Hills for Life and that they're going by the rules and they're doing NIL right. And all of these parents specifically and these young people understood the process. They understood we were going to go by the rules, and they didn't detour at all when other people were talking to them about NIL opportunities. So very, very proud of that. We probably lost 5 guys because of NIL, with some people not going by the rules, but we're really, really proud of the 20 that we got. And then we'll add some more transfers to this roster, and by June we should have an improved roster. Questions?
You say you lost 5 guys. Can you clarify on that? Was that the guys that you committed, or guys that
both?
Couldn't kind of.
Both. I don't want to talk specifically about young people, but we just discussed it this morning in the staff meeting, and we just felt like when you were looking at it, we were trying to figure out, Ross, where NIL is going and what's the next step and how do we navigate it in recruiting, and if we had to do over, would we do it any different? And we really wouldn't. But we said that there were NIL discussions with 5 young people that didn't end up coming.
Mack, through the years, UNC has ruled editorial state when it comes to recruiting. How important is it to keep that kind of rolling for you guys?
It's really important. Now more than ever before, recruiting is just so different because it's about your roster. And you have to look at guys who are going to transfer out. You have to look at guys that are transferring in. And so many people now are taking a transfer instead of a high school player, simply because he's 2 years older, 3 years older, he's already developed. You know, there's less likelihood that you make a mistake with an older guy. And I was out for 2 weeks after the championship game recruiting, and every high school coach said that I've got guys on my team that would have gotten scholarships in the past that aren't going to get them, because every team is telling me they're going to wait and see what's in the portal, and they're going to move you back to at least the February signing date before you have a chance to even look at you. So it's high school coaches are really worried about the future of recruiting for the great players are going to get scholarships, but the good players that would have gotten scholarships. One coach told me, I've got 8 kids that would have gotten scholarships 2 years ago that aren't going to sign today. So I'm really, really concerned about high school recruiting for that reason.
Going back to losing some guys because of NIL, how much does that change the pool of kids that you go after? Because you know some of these kids, it's pretty obvious they're looking for a lot, and so you're not going to waste your time with those guys. So is your pool smaller now?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it's even more reason, Andrew, for us to stay in the footprint. We want guys that want to come to North Carolina. We want guys with good grades. We want guys that want to get a degree from here. And we have a really good Hills for Life program that will help young people on our team with opportunities after they get here and they earn it like the rule says you're supposed to do. But if people are starting to ask for that before they get here against the rules, that's not who we are.
So typically in the past, you would look at a kid's transcript and some other things first. How quickly is whatever their NIL demand or desires are in that process?
It's all of it's a part of it now, but we had a long discussion. We looked at our whole team and who they are and why they're here. And then we looked at the recruiting class that we had offered. And then we looked at who came and who didn't. And we said it's a very clear distinction on who we need to continue to recruit. And then we put those values up and said, here's who's going to come here now. And that's just who we are. So we've got to figure that out. And I'm really, really proud of this class. You can see they're a good class. It's probably as good as the classes we've had in the past. Just won't have as much splash, but they're really good players.
If I can stay on that real quickly, you may not have enough intel yet, not enough years of doing this, but would you find maybe that the kids who don't demand as much, aren't as interested, are less likely to leave? Are they maybe a different kind of kid to have in the program?
All of us are in the process of looking at that, Andrew. What's going to happen with NIL? What's going to happen with the people that are just giving them money up front? and they haven't earned it, and they're not going by the rules. And it'll be very interesting to see. I thought I'd love to see a survey of how many kids flipped on signing day and didn't even call the school they were committed to, and see how they panned out. There's just certain things like that. So we're not going to change who we are in recruiting. We're going to still go after the same young guys, and this class proves that you can still be successful by not having to go in a direction that you don't believe in, and one that's not within the rules. So I'm really, really proud of this class.
Mack, jumping back to kind of the challenge for high school kids that might get overlooked now. How much of that do you feel like it's gonna maybe filter out once kind of that COVID year of extra eligibility for everybody, ends?
See, it's a good point. I think it'll change some, but I think, again, the transfer portal is going to continue to hurt the high school player, because if you've got a coach that's in some trouble and he's got to win next year, he's not worried about that 23 recruit that's going to take 3 years to play. The other thing that I'm worried about that's happening with all of us, it's happening with fans, but it's also happening with coaches, is for whatever reason, we've got less patience than we've ever had before. And I said this the other day, we're expecting an offensive lineman to come in and play as a freshman. Most offensive linemen don't even play their third year. But now it's easier to go get a senior offensive lineman than wait on that freshman or sophomore to grow up. So I'm just concerned that we've lost our patience. Everybody's got to win now. People are getting fired faster than ever before. People are more angry than ever before. So we've got to be really, really careful that we don't take some shortcuts to try to get to that place without building a program. I'd still rather build our team off high school players and supplement with transfers. I don't want to be just a transfer program.
You mentioned the class lacking a splash. You have 2 of the top 10 players in the state, but usually you've had more the last couple of classes. You've had 5, 6, even up to 8. What do you think the reason was that you weren't able to get those big top 100 kids in this class?
Well, I think we did. The thing we haven't gotten is we're going to be ranked 24th or 25th instead of 10th. And some of that depends on the kids in your state. And then some of that depends on how many are around you. Some of that depends on the academics. And now you've got to add the NIL. And where before we could recruit a young guy that was going to be highly recruited, and even if some people were going to try to buy him, there was a threat with the NCAA that you could turn him in. So they had to be really careful. Now, it's just the Wild Wild West. So we're not into that. So there's no question that those 5 guys I'm talking about would have put us in that class that you're talking about. But we're going to be different moving forward than we've been in the past.
What do you really like about this class? What do you think are the key things that stand out with how you are?
The character, the academics, the speed. If you look, the defensive backs can all cover and then catch. The linebackers are downhill and physical. The outside backers are great pass rushers. You got 2 big bodies inside that can run. Offensively, all 3 offensive linemen can play all 5 positions because we're trying to get more athletic and make sure that they're aggressive but athletic. Quarterback's best in the state. The running back's one of the best in the country. He's averaged 10.8 yards per carry, and 3 wide receivers can all come in and play, in my estimation, and the tight end looks great. So I think, again, some of the guys were under recruited or under evaluated in recruiting. You watch that video, it looks pretty good.
You mentioned that evaluation. I guess this is your 5th class, 19 sort of half and half, between and then COVID. Do you feel like this class is as close to be able to fully vet, fully evaluate those guys by your staff, you and your staff, as you've had here at North Carolina since you've been back?
I think it was the one that was the top 10 class, Tommy, because we had time to evaluate them for 2 years, camp. We knew them. They were at every basketball game. They were at football games. And even this group is kind of coming out of COVID, and then you've got to add NIL to it. So I really think it was that top 10 class was the one without NIL, and that we had time to evaluate, because most of those kids were already on our campus. We knew them, we had relationships with them, and then they couldn't go anywhere else after COVID hit. So the only kids we lost that year were ones that were going, that had never come here. And they wanted to come here and they'd set visits, but COVID happened so fast, it just, people started canceling visits and we couldn't do it. But, and also this is impressive that we lost 2 coaches as late as we did, and not one of the kids even wavered with the coaches leaving. And I think that means that we picked the right people for the school, not just people for a coach.
Did any of the new coaches like reach out, like Chip Lindsey reach out to Tad Hudson, did the offensive line, did
Yes.
reach out to the linemen? Like, how did that work? Because it was such a quick turnaround.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to hire fast before the bowl game was we got transfer portal linemen, we got receivers for the coordinator. They want to know what we're going to do, and quarterback. And so yes, immediately when they were hired and they were legal to do it, Randy called all 3 commitments at the offensive line, and Chip called Tad immediately. And then obviously Chip was here for recruiting for the weekend. Randy didn't come till Sunday night, so he didn't get a chance to meet the recruits. But they can talk to them and FaceTime them. And they went home last night, but they're going to call all the guys today and congratulate them and start that relationship with them.
Because your last 5 commits, I think, were kids that were committed elsewhere originally. You have that on top of playing in the ACC title game and all the portal stuff. Is this the craziest 6 weeks, 7 weeks leading up to signing day you've ever experienced?
It is. It just you didn't know what day it was. You didn't have enough time to figure it out. I think I was saying, "Is this Tuesday?" Just because you didn't look up. And I do think that's why we need to look at possibly moving the signing date back, letting players finish, and if they're going to transfer or transfer in, they'll at least know who the new coach is if a coach gets fired or coaches leave. And bowl games are a mess right now because North Texas had an interim coach because they fired their coach. And you look every day. Liberty last night had an interim coach because Coach Freeze left to go to Auburn. So bowl games, I worry about being safe, and I worry about it being best for the kids. We've got Lonnie Galloway's recruiting the portal, trying to help our kids that are leaving. He's recruiting 3 high school kids. He's coaching quarterbacks and receivers, and he's calling plays for the first time in his life in a bowl game. I mean, that's a load now. So I'm not sure we shouldn't just take a deep breath, and we've got to look at college football in general and what do we need to do to make it, again, best for the kids, best for the coaches, and then that would be best for the players, because we're going to a 12-team playoff. If people get so thin they don't have enough players for bowl games, or if all the coaches are going to start leaving, then we're going to have to, they're going to reevaluate bowl games. And I hate that, because a lot of the kids can never get to the playoffs, and a bowl game's a great reward for them.
Speaking on that, some of the later commits you've gotten in prior classes were kids that weren't committed elsewhere. Like I mentioned a minute ago, a lot of these kids were. When a kid commits somewhere else and he was once on your radar, how often do you kind of stay with him just in case? Not just in respect to communication, but following his progress that season. So when a Duncanson, for example, you realize, okay, we might need him, and he starts talking to you more, you're already caught up with him.
Because we don't offer a lot of guys, Andrew, and because of the transfer portal and roster management being so crazy, you constantly say, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Hang in there with us. Just hang in there, because there may be an opening, and this could happen. It could happen very quickly. So our coaches do that. I don't do it, but the coaches do.
What is the primary NIL rule that you would say is being broken?
The NIL rule is that the collective can only talk to your players and offer opportunities after they're in school. There are schools that are absolutely telling people they're going to pay you this much money and get you a free apartment in recruiting. And that's just an absolute violation.
So would you want to move, sorry, that topic there quickly, would you want to move the signing date back to February?
Yes.
Is that what you think is best?
What Ross, I was the president of the AFCA when we made the early signing date. And what we wanted, and we probably didn't understand it well enough, the legal part of it, we wanted early enrollees and a legacy player. So if there's a guy who his parents went here and he didn't want to visit anywhere else, he just wanted to come to North Carolina, let him sign in December. But also the early enrollees, because they didn't have a signing date. And they were just out there. So they'd have to have their own little deal, but there should have been a signing date. So that was our proposal from the AFCA board to the NCAA. NCAA said legally you can't allow a certain group to sign and then keep another group from signing. So they had to allow everybody to sign. And then it went crazy and everybody started signing, and you really only had one signing date, and maybe the second one was for guys that got overlooked or somebody who decided they weren't going to sign because the coach got fired, or a new coach coming in would have to sign some later. And now coaches are leaving before bowl games, and I understand it, because if a new coach gets a job, he wants you to recruit. So I got that. I did the same thing. I just got lucky that Chip wasn't calling plays, so it didn't disrupt Gus, and Randy was through with his bowl game. But all of a sudden now, kids feel like they got to sign. Transfers are coming in. Transfers are leaving. I don't think it's fair to our team that we don't have our offensive coordinator and our offensive line coach playing against one of the best teams in the country in the bowl game. It's not fair to the kids or our fans. Not fair to the coaches that are being shoved into a different role. And then if a coach gets fired, or if a coach leaves, like we had the two leaving, and it's right at signing date, kids don't have enough time to really make a decision on whether they still want to go or not. So I think we should really slow down, move everything back, and make it more like the NFL in the fact that you can't take a job as an assistant coach till 5 days after your last game or till the day after your last game, so at least you're not disrupting the bowl game. And nobody's calling head coaches anymore. They're just all hiring them. So they walk in one day and tell me they're gone, and then I got to figure out who I'm going to hire, who's going to coach the bowl game. I got to get a hold of all those kids as it's out there. So I just think it'd be better for everybody if we slowed down, had more patience, and moved things back more like the NFL.
It sounds pretty dire for college athletics, really, but college football. Is there some positive aspects of all this mess?
Absolutely, Tommy. And I wrote some thoughts down here, and it's some people think you're whining as a coach when you're being honest. One of the things this is my whole life. My family, my faith in college football is all I got. That's all I've had my whole life, and I've always wanted to go by the rules. I've always loved the game and want what's best for the game, and I love the kids and want to mentor them. And now I'm old enough, most of the younger coaches can't speak because everybody beats them up. And they're afraid of it. They're afraid they'll get fired. They're afraid everybody will be angry at them. They're afraid they'll get bad publicity. I'm not worried about any of it, so it doesn't matter. So I feel a responsibility to say what I think that the others think, because I have so many call me all the time and they can't speak. So I thought about this. You think about the transfer portal. It's really positive for a guy that's a second or third team player, been here 2 years, not playing as much as he wants to, and he can find a place to go to be happy. Most of the kids we've had transfer were backups, and they're happy because we follow up with them and we stay in touch with them, and because they want to play. And I tried to say, stay and get your degree and then leave. Well, that's 3-4 years, and you're losing time to play. So transfer portal is a positive for a Joe Burrow. It's a positive for our kids that get to go play somewhere else. Does it make it easier for them to quit? Absolutely, and I worry about that. Does it make us have less patience? And he can leave, so if he's going to leave, we say, yeah, it's fine, go, we'll find a better one. Yeah, so I don't like that part of it. Second thing is NIL. NIL means that we will never have amateurism again. We all grew up with that. We don't have it, it's gone. And the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't get it back. But NIL is really good when done like they've asked us to do it. Kids are learning how to pay taxes. Kids are learning how to give back to charities. Kids are learning how to go greet people and shake hands and take pictures and do the things they need to do. Tylee Craft is able to get some funds through NIL opportunities to help him offset the cost of his cancer and his treatments. So there's a lot of good things. Nobody is against young people getting money. But all of a sudden then it's just like the cheaters, too much is too much. And it's not whining, it's fact. And what is too much money for a young person? You start saying, I was thinking about this, when you start looking at it, the first thing it does, it makes recruiting non-competitive. So the teams that pay the most money are going to have the best teams, and they'll be the 12 teams playing in the playoffs. That's the first thing. So it's going to change college football. We've always had an upper echelon, but every now and then somebody can slip in there. I think that's going to change unless we get the rules. The rules aren't bad, it's just that people aren't going by them in some cases. And again, the ones that are honest and going by the rules are getting punished. And that's sad, but that's it. Second thing is the tampering. People say it's not tampering. Well, it is, but you can't catch them. I've never said anything about the dollar, because I'm not in those conversations. I don't know what the dollar actually is. I've been told, but I don't know that that's right. But it's all being done by agents. So when we gave players agents, and coaches have agents, it's all being done by agents. So people say, well, call them out. You can't. You can't call them out. You don't have written facts. I can't see it. I'm told, but I don't go by what I'm told. I want to have facts before I do that. And then you start looking at, Tommy, this really worries me. We're going to ruin Group of 5 football. And we've already ruined FCS football, because all of the best players are wanting to go play at a higher level. And then some are giving them inducements to do it. And that's the tampering that we got to figure out how to stop that. We had players last year, it wasn't just this year, that people tried to get to come off the campus. And as we said, we're killing high school football. We're killing players' opportunities to go to college. And the other thing about the transfer portal that I really worry about, Tommy, if it's my son and 40+% don't find a place to go, you're having young guys that give up a scholarship, go into the transfer portal and can't go to school. Now that's bad. So then I think we're going to see graduation rates crash. We're going to see APR crash, and we've worried about that our whole lives, and now it's not even being talked about. But transfers, by and large, have a more difficult time of graduating. So those rates are going to crash. It's going to be awful. And more than anything else, I'm worried about mental health, because these young guys are pressured. They feel like they got to leave. They're pressured with money, and I think we'll see a higher drug use. We'll see higher alcohol use, more depression, and I really think even the possibility of more suicides, because we're asking young people at 18 to 20 years old to be making decisions that they didn't have to worry about 3 years ago. So I'm sincerely concerned about those things, not whining. And if a player leaves, that's his choice. I'd rather him make that choice than people calling him and giving him options to make that choice. That's all I'm saying. Do coaches make choices? Yeah. But they at least have to go through a process and have a contract. And that's, I think we're headed more toward a salary cap. I think we're headed more toward the NFL. I would have never thought that the NFL has better guidelines than college football. And that's what we are. And Group of 5 and FCS coaches are now feeder systems for Power 5. I mean, that's what we are. I've had so many calls from Group of 5 and FCS coaches the last month saying, what do we do, Coach? What do we do? We're desperate. I don't know what to tell them. So hopefully with the new president of the NCAA, hopefully with people like me speaking out, we'll at least address it. I just want to address it. I want to get back in college football where we have sound guidelines. There's always going to be cheating. There's always going to be people taking shortcuts. And the other thing, Tommy, that I'm worried about, and it's real, is when they say that you don't have a 25 cap on the front end for initial signage. You can sign as many as you want. People are going to run off players on their team that aren't good to bring in a transfer. So that's the next thing that happens. You're just going to run him off. If he's not good enough, why don't I get rid of it? Or if I'm not patient enough to wait for him to be developed over 3 years, let me get a 3-year guy. So if he comes in and asks you, how's it look? You're not going to play here. We need to get you out of here. And those are things that are not healthy for the kids. And I don't think therefore are best for the coaches, because we got in this to help kids. And I think we've kind of lost that right now, and we need to get back to that goal more than anything else.
You mentioned the incoming president. I was going to ask, is there any optimism that maybe he'll be able to get a hold of this, or is it so big? When you discussed this last summer, do you really just need a separate entity to oversee this?
Yeah, I don't know, Andrew. I don't know him. I think when you hire a governor, you're obviously worried about the politics and Congress and the Supreme Court and their involvement. It is big. A lot of the younger coaches are calling me, asking me what I would do. I don't know. That's the frustrating part. I really don't know. I'm trying to put my mind to it and trying to figure it out, and I'm not sure what you do right now. It's still college football. We've got wonderful kids that are playing it. Everybody's going to watch the games, and but we've got some things out of control that we need to grab and pull back in.
Mack, one other question about the class itself. Is there anybody who you see as maybe having an opportunity to make an immediate impact, or is it all more just development and down the line?
CL, it's usually by position. We're thin in the secondary, so those guys would have a chance. The 3 wide receivers, you can play wide receiver faster normally than you can some other positions. Offensive linemen and defensive linemen usually take a while to develop. We need pass rushers, those 2 coming in the spring. Hopefully they can, with Noah and Chris Collins leaving, hopefully they can come in and help us in that position. We've got 3 good tight ends, but Julian Randolph is a guy I think can play, but he's not coming in the spring. And then we've got to look at linebackers, because we've just played Sed and Power. We've been so lucky they've been healthy all year. But we've got to develop some backup, some quality depth at that position. So those guys, 2 of them coming in this spring, will obviously have a chance to show coaches what they can do for 15 days.
On that topic, which player in the class are you most excited about? You think can be a really, really good player for y'all?
Sally asked me the same thing last night, and I told her, and I can't tell you because I'd only make 19 other mothers mad.
Come on.
So I can't do that. That would be a rookie mistake. I've done that in the past.
What was your reaction to Pat Narduzzi's comments about Drake being offered $5 million to your full schools?
I have none. I made my comment the other day. My concern is not our players. My concern is that there's people that are absolutely tampering with and talking to agents to buy players off people's campus. And I wish that would stop.
Just to clarify too on Caleb Cost, so will he end up missing spring practice when he's here to be with the baseball team?
Another good question, CL. What we've done in the past is if he can do what he wants to do, he'll go play baseball. He'll be with Coach Forbes. And then if there's a Saturday they're not playing, or we practice in the morning, if he wants to come out and practice in the morning and then go play baseball in the afternoon, we've allowed baseball and track guys to do that. So really, Coach Warren and Coach Forbes will get with Caleb. We don't want to overload him. We don't want to beat him down because he's got too much. We don't want to affect his academics. But we're going to let those 2 sit down with him and him decide what he wants to do.
He's definitely going to play baseball?
Absolutely.
Because there have been guys who come here going to play basketball and never played. Like Chaz who's played basketball, never played. Keyshawn who's played basketball, never played.
Yeah, and Ross, it'll be his decision, but he had an official visit with our baseball team. And they really want him, and he's really good. So The only reason he wouldn't play baseball if he decides it's just too much, or I can't miss any spring practice, I need to get better, but he loves baseball. So I see him actually doing it.
What if he makes baseball hard?
Then they get that scholarship.
He's better at baseball.
Yeah, no, if he's better at baseball, what I've learned is that you tell people their options and they make those decisions.
You had a few baseball players in your football roster when you were here before, right?
We did. Derek DePriest was a pitcher. Dre actually played.
You had a linebacker, didn't you, that also played baseball?
We had a running back that was a first pick with the Yankees,
Yeah, yeah.
Godwin, and he was he's so fast, and he went for baseball. So,
Cost could be drafted.
yeah,
And it could go that way, and then you bring in the whole NIL discussion to.
yeah. No, but that's absolutely the truth, and he feels like that he wants to come here and play both sports, regardless of his draft. But obviously, we had Quan Cosby at Texas, and he was picked as a high draft choice in baseball and went to play. And then 3 years later, we signed him again and brought him back in to play football, and he had a great career for us.
Baseball kids get a lot of money now.
Yeah.
Who are the 10 early release again? Can you give us those names?
Yes.
I got him right here.
Okay, Paul Billups,
Okay.
Amari Campbell, DJ Geth, RJ Grigsby, Christian Hamilton, J. Brown Harvey, Tad Hudson, Nolan McConnell, Michael Short, and Tyler Thompson,
Thank you.
with Michael Short and Amari Campbell going to the bowl game.
With that bowl game stuff, there's you kind of observing and getting involved a little bit and meeting rooms, things like that.
Yes, they'll be in shorts, they'll do drills,
Get a feel for it.
but won't put pads on, won't hit anybody. We would just, they'll work out with the strength coaches and start learning what that's about. But yes, it's more of an orientation than anything else.
So what is the schedule? Y'all leave Friday for San Diego.
Yes.
Practice schedule, getting ready, obviously Christmas is in there. What's it look like for the players and the coaches before the bowl game? I guess would be at 5 o'clock out there.
Yes.
Wednesday.
Tommy, we'll work back days like we do for a Friday game. This is a Wednesday game. You get there Friday, so you start working back to Tuesday would be Friday, Monday would be Thursday, Sunday would be Wednesday, Saturday would be Tuesday, so it's a very, very short week. And we'll practice, I think we practice from like 11 to 1, and then they have, they go to the zoo one day, you go to SeaWorld one day, you go to a ship and let them tour the ship one day. Those are the 3 events they have. So it's going to happen fast.
It's a great city.
Yeah,
They will enjoy that part of it.
yeah.
And that's your point about bowl games.
It is. They've got to have fun. And last year I think we were beaten down and weren't excited about playing the game, which is my responsibility. This year we got so many guys coming back that they're going to play hard. Everybody thinks Oregon's got a better team, and they're really good. I got scared talking to our coaches. How about tailbacks, man? They're real fast. What about the receivers? They're great. What about the offensive line, man? They can knock you around. They look like Clemson. And the quarterback's one of the best in the country. So tight ends are really good too. They use them really well. I said, great guys, I'm excited. But again, this will be another good measuring stick for us to see how far we got to go to get where they are. We want to be Clemson. We want to be Oregon. We want to be Notre Dame. Then we got to take another step. Anything else? All right,
Appreciate it.
folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.